it's always cheaper to keep your existing customer than spend money and getting a new one, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so let's move on a little bit to sort of the present day. So we've talked a lot about how you guys planned around it, and it sounds like you guys made some really good decisions. But essentially, somebody who's listening in who's thinking, you know what, I actually haven't done that, and that ship has kind of sailed, right? Like you can't suddenly go and do a big order and come in. Assuming that people do have some inventory, like what is like business as usual, quote unquote, look like for you guys right now? Like, how are you managing it throughout this? Because there's no certainty, like what we just talked about maybe before we started recording the podcast. You don't even know how long the lockdown is going to be. Like, what is that new normal for you? How are you guys running a business right now?
So another thing I actually should mention is that we, um, since a month ago, I've been emailing not just our suppliers, but even like the subscription tools and everything that we're using to ask for discounts, actually. Um, because obviously we do have to think about the fact that money will eventually run out. And so one of the first things I did was I just emailed everyone and I said, no one knows how long this is going to last. Is there anything that you can do to kind of help us during these times? And surprisingly, many times people say yes, and they, I've gotten like, for example, Zoho, which is our CRM management tool, gave us 3 months for free.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've been emailing AWS to ask for some type of credits or some type of way to reduce our monthly costs a bit.
Right.
And also the brands that we're carrying, I've asked them all to, if they can give us some type of discount, 10-15%, because anything helps. And so that's kind of become the new normal for us. Also just being in constant update and contact with our logistics provider. Another thing that's completely changed that we were not expecting, which we were aiming for down the line, was to increase our credit card usage, because in the Middle East, the majority of people pay with cash on delivery. And so this affects our cash cycle, and we don't get the money deposited into our bank account until 3 weeks later. So as a result of the pandemic, countries in the region have now stopped cash on delivery, and you can do card on delivery or you can do prepaid. So our credit card usage has gone up, which is, has been the goal for us since day one. So in a way, there's many threats, but at the same time, there are opportunities. And this is an opportunity for us, because we if we have our cash cycle in a healthy flow, then we're able to make more purchases, and we're able to just, like, the overall health, the financial health of the business is in a better state than the way it used to be, where we were constantly waiting on our cash on delivery payments to be processed.
Sure. So basically, you've seen some. I don't want to use the word good, but like you've seen some favorable changes as well, amidst all the doom and gloom. Okay, but I want to get back to that like question on like business as usual right now, right? Like how are you guys like for instance, are you having more frequent leadership meetings where you're thinking what to do, or are you because it seems like there's a risk or some problem happening very frequently. So you just mentioned the logistics provider not having the passes for 2 days, so I'm sure that had some alarm bells ringing. Have you guys changed the way you work for this period?
So I will say that we were actually very well equipped to handle this situation, to work remotely and to work from home,
Okay.
because we already have been doing it. The
Hmm.
team is basically remote. My co-founder's in the US right now. We have someone else in Turkey. We have someone else in Canada. So we already had the tools in place in order to create a business like this virtually. I mean, there are several months in the year where we are together, but it hasn't been like that since maybe 6 months. So we already do talk every single day. We have our scheduled meetings every single week where, I highly recommend always using video when you're talking to your staff, because you want to see everyone. You want to
Sure.
make sure that you want to make sure that you're on the same page. And obviously we use like tasks management tools like Asana, and to make sure everyone is on top of their to-do lists. So in terms of like the actual running of the business, it
Hmm.
it hasn't we haven't felt it negatively, just because it was our day-to-day business as usual operations.
So let's condense that to perhaps some advice that someone listening in right now who is not as well versed in remote working and has sort of found themselves forced to do that. So from what you're saying, it sounds like you encourage very frequent cadence, right? So a lot of meetings where I guess one thing I've heard about remote working is over communicate more than under communicate, because you want to make sure people
Yeah.
really get it. Would you? And I think the second part of what you said was that you use some kind of software to like do some kind of project management, task management, so that everybody's sort of on the same page. Are these sort of the two pillars of like what you described to be why you guys are so effective as a remote team?
Yeah, and I think also honesty, like being honest, being accountable, and being available. I think these
Hmm.
are the other three things that I would say helps our team run really well. Because when we don't know something, we say we don't know it, and when we have to do,
Hmm.
we do it, and we're not relying on someone else. We're not waiting on someone else. I will say that I don't think any of this is possible if you don't have the right team. And
Yes.
I think that is why we're managing so well during this period, because we're really there for each other and we really provide support for one another. um, we're all in different places right now, so we are each other's support unit in a way. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I think just like being there for one another, and it's okay if you're having a tough day, like like we're not like we're super flexible, like we're not like you need to be online at 10 a.m. or like it's never been the case like that with us, which is why we give everyone such flexibility and such transparency, because we know at the end of the day they're going to get the job done, and it doesn't matter what time they get it done.
Yes.
um, so this is I think what else contributes to how we're able to operate during this difficult period.